types of markets. Understanding your market opportunity first starts with understanding what type of market you're building a business in. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have to understand what makes your market tick in order to actually enter that market and dominate it successfully. This is critical because every market has different characteristics from one another. Each of them has different barriers of entry, different costs of entry, different sales modes and sales cycles, different customer needs and adoption rates, and even requires different types of value propositions and positioning techniques that will affect your ability to scale. We're going to be looking at 5 classic types of markets: existing markets, new markets, re-segmented markets, both price segmentation and niche segmentation, and clone markets. The first 4 markets are described extensively in Steve Blank's The Startup Owner's Manual. We recommend you pick up the book and give it a read. The last type, the clone market, is very relevant for a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly in emerging markets. So let's get started. First, let's talk about existing markets. Our first market type, existing markets, is naturally the first thing of the 5 markets that we talk about. It's also the most difficult for startups to actually enter. An existing market is a market where customers are already buying a product, or a product similar to the one that you're building. That means it's a lot easier to figure out how this market functions. It's easy to identify your customer base. They're using your competitor's product. You know how big the market size is. There's data and evidence already there. Sales cycles are well understood. It'll be the same or similar to the established players in the market already. You know which value propositions are resonating with your potential customer and getting them to buy, because you can see what's working from your competition. This may all seem like really good things, but all of these knowns make entering this kind of market extremely difficult. There are 2 key factors in existing markets that can affect your business. One is they can just already have too many competitors. The other is market dominators like monopolies or duopolies. If you have a lot of competition, you'll have to fight tooth and nail for every form of market share. This is what is described as a red ocean market in one of the recommended books, Blue Ocean Strategies by W.C. Chan and Renee Mauborgne. You really have to have something totally disruptive to effectively break into and dominate an established market. If you do, though, that's really big. Ultimately, this water, the oceans they're talking about here, is quite crowded, and there are just too many sharks trying to feed on whatever fish are in the area. Things are going to get a little bloody, which is why they call it red ocean. For businesses, the competition gets fierce in order to dominate a market, and those businesses will often play to their biggest strengths to beat out the competition. This type of competition can result easily in a feature battle, where the only way you can be different, you can differentiate your product or yourself over competitors is through added or nuanced features or improved performance. Keep in mind, when you see a large entrenched market where there are lots of opportunity for disruption, don't assume entrenched players will lay down and be run over. In many large established markets with big entrenched players, they could be a little bit lazy and sleepy. You arriving and sounding the bell of competition may very well wake up that sleeping giant. And guess who they're going to eat first? They can come alive and protect their market aggressively, matching you and besting you with capital and existing customer relationships. Existing markets with a lot of competition may also result in a price war, with companies reducing prices below their competitors in order to gain market share or keep it. If you don't have deep pockets to take that financial hit of high customer acquisition costs and retention, then you're going to get out-competed purely at a price level. Take the Indian food tech startups back in 2015. A few years ago, there was a massive surge of food tech startups that were raising pools of venture capital. Companies like Swiggy and Food Panda and Tiny Owl and hundreds of others were popping up and going head-to-head to capture market share throughout urban metros. Tiny Owl tried to achieve market dominance by attracting customers through significantly subsidized costs. They assumed that the customer would stay with them for longer than they anticipated. But that isn't the case. Right when Tiny Owl lowered their price, they saw a spike in customer usage. But when the other competitors lowered their costs as well, the customers quickly shifted loyalties. The customer didn't care what company they were using. They cared that their food was delivered in the most cost-efficient manner. Tiny Owl faced severe repercussions from cutting their costs to customers. By the time they decided to shut down, the company faced 25 crore in losses and only 20 lakh in revenue. While they had some pretty great investors like Sequoia back then, their strategy in this existing market was severely flawed. Perhaps your competitors have had long-standing market dominance. In that case, you'll have a lot of ground to cover to actually be able to compete. Your barriers of entry and costs of entering that market are going to be really high, far more than what a typical early-stage startup can afford. This would be like somebody trying to build a better search engine than Google. I'm not saying that it won't happen. It very well may happen in the future. In fact, it may already have happened, but it didn't get traction. A small startup stands a pretty slim to none chance to compete with a behemoth like Google without a lot of firepower behind them. If you're working in an existing market, you need to be highly aware of your competitors and the market dominators. It's not impossible to compete, but it's extremely difficult. What you need to keep in mind in an existing market is that your startup has to have something that really shifts the market demand toward your product. Sometimes people will have a cost-effective mechanism to deliver a product in a significantly cheaper way. Or you have to be able to disrupt an existing market with a new technology. That's what Uber was about. It was thinking about how the transportation market works and how people think about it and how they use it. It's disaggregating a market in a way that makes it so that people can get it more effectively, easier, more efficiently, and more affordably. It's a really unique function that takes a very specialized product and a market to do that. Another good example is the test prep market in India. Aspirants of government jobs used to prepare for their entrance exams by joining coaching classes where every student had to learn at the same pace, regardless of their learning ability. Indian startup Unacademy disrupted the market by bringing the content of those coaching classes online and letting learners learn at their own pace. Not only was it more affordable, it also provided easy access to content and popular tutors to aspirants in small towns where good coaching classes just didn't exist.